Am I the a-hole for withholding seg because my husband won't get a vasectomy? Neither of us want children. This was discussed and agreed upon very early on in our relationship. The subject of sterilization came up during our engagement. We agreed it would be easier, cheaper, and less invasive for him to get a vasectomy versus me getting a bisalp. He said he would be sterilized after we got married. We've been married for 3 years now. Sterilization has been the focus of several arguments over the years, which have only gotten more frequent since RVW was overturned. We live in a red state with an absolute ban. There is legislature being proposed to document pregnant women and penalize out-of-state termination. I'm terrified of getting pregnant. It would ruin my life. He knows my feelings. Every time I ask him about getting sterilized, he always says the same thing. I'm too busy. I don't have time. It's invasive. Getting into urology will take forever. They don't even put you to sleep, etc. He's a first-year resident doctor. It's true he is very busy. He works anywhere from 30 to 70 hours per week. I'm a first-year PA student. I spend 50-plus hours a week attending class and studying. But he has the luxury of taking time off. I do not. For the next 2 years, my schedule will be inflexible. He claims vasectomies are just as invasive as a laparoscopic bisalp. I told him that's simply not true, hence why general anesthesia is required for a bisalp and only local anesthesia for a vasectomy. Not to mention bisalps have a longer healing period and carry more risks than vasectomies. Considering his extensive medical knowledge, I was shocked by his statement. We are both in our 20s. It's substantially harder for young women to find a provider who will sterilize them than it is for young men. I started looking for a provider months ago and found some promising leads. He hasn't even done a Google search. I feel so disgusted, disappointed, and angry. He knows I'm terrified of getting pregnant. He knows bisalp is the more invasive procedure. He knows the entire process of finding a provider, scheduling the appointment, having the procedure, and then recovering post-op will be more difficult, time-consuming, and expensive. I asked him why he's so unwilling to have the procedure. Is he scared? Does he want children? He said no to both, then repeats the same excuses. I finally told him to forget it, and that I'll go ahead with sterilization myself. But sex is off the table and will be for the foreseeable future. Despite being on birth control, I'm no longer willing to take the risk. He thinks my reaction is unfair. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law to never undermine me in front of my children? Wife was out of town last weekend for work, so my MIL volunteered to take our 12-year triplets to a movie. Before she got to our house to pick them up, I asked my daughter to clean up the mess she made in the kitchen. I asked 2 more times after that, and when my MIL arrived, it still wasn't done. I was staring to get upset, so I asked her again in a more stern tone. She tried to argue back that she did, so I asked about the kettle on the stove that still had food in it. It was at this point that my MIL started criticizing me and saying it wasn't that big of a deal. When I mentioned that we were specifically working with the kids on cleaning up after themselves, she dismissed me and started talking about when she sees things that I don't always put away, like tools and stuff. When they got back, I pulled her off to the side. I told her that I appreciate everything she does for us, but with all due respect, please do not undermine me in front of my kids again, and that I felt extremely disrespected. If she ever disagrees with something I say or do, she is welcome to pull my aside and talk about it in private, but never in front of the kids. Of course, she left crying, and my wife isn't speaking to me. Am I the a-hole here?